Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American supernatural horror film from 2025, titled The Monkey. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. In 1999, Petey Shelburne tries to return a drum-playing toy monkey to an antique shop. The shop owner refuses, saying they don't accept returns on children's toys and insists that the monkey appears to be broken. However, Petey warns him that whenever the monkey plays its drums, something bad happens, but the shop owner is skeptical, until the monkey suddenly starts drumming. As the last beat echoes, a freak accident occurs and the shop owner is gruesomely impaled by a harpoon gun, and horrified, Petey immediately burns the cursed toy with a flamethrower. Soon after, he mysteriously disappears, leaving his wife Lois to raise their identical twin sons, Hal and Bill, on her own. Growing up, Hal is frequently bullied by Bill. Though Hal often wants to get back at his brother, he always holds back because they are still family. One day, while exploring their father's old room, the twins stumble upon a mysterious box hidden in his closet. Inside the box, the twins find the same toy monkey their father tried to destroy, and on the box, a message is written: "Turn the key and see what happens." Curious, Bill winds up the toy and the monkey begins to play its drums, but nothing unusual happens. Disappointed, Bill scoffs that it must be broken since it didn't live up to his expectations. That evening, their babysitter Annie gets ready to take them to a hibachi restaurant, and inside the car, Hal is startled to see the toy monkey sitting in the back seat, when he was sure they had left it in their father's room. At the restaurant, the hibachi chef entertains Annie and the twins with his impressive cooking skills. Meanwhile, in the car, the toy monkey mysteriously starts playing its drums again, and as the final beat echoes, Annie is suddenly decapitated by the chef's knife, leaving Hal and Bill in shock. A funeral service is held at the church for Annie, and her death is dismissed as a tragic accident. Even Lois tries to comfort the twins, telling them that everyone will die eventually. The next day at school, Hal is humiliated when Bill's friends bully him, forcing him to walk home without his trouser. He finds the toy monkey sitting in their room, and assuming Lois put it there, he asks her about it, but she insists she didn't. Later, during biology class, Hal is horrified to discover that the toy monkey has somehow followed him to school. Once again, he is tormented by Bill and his friends, who dump bananas and peels all over him in front of everyone. Having had enough, Hal finally snaps and fueled by anger, he winds the monkey's key, hoping it will kill Bill. The monkey starts drumming like before, but instead of Bill, their mother Lois suddenly suffers a fatal aneurysm and collapses, dying right in front of Bill. The twins are devastated by their mother's death, and after Lois' funeral, Hal is overcome with guilt and does the unthinkable. He dismantles the toy monkey's hand, and he is horrified to discover a thick black goo. He continues taking the toy apart before disposing of it. Following their mother's passing, Hal and Bill are sent to Maine to live with their Aunt Ida and Uncle Chip. However, that night, the monkey mysteriously reappears in their new home, and the twins now realize that the toy is somehow connected to the deaths of Lois and Annie. Intrigued by its power, Bill winds the key despite Hal's desperate protests, and a horrifying accident occurs. Chip is trampled to death by a sudden horse stampede. The twins seal the monkey back inside its box and carry it up a nearby hill, and without hesitation, they toss it down an old well, hoping it will stay buried forever. 25 years later, Hal is now working at a grocery store, living a lonely and cautious life. He is estranged from both his twin brother and his own son Petey, whom he only sees once a year, terrified that the cursed monkey will return and bring more death. He also learns that his ex-wife and her new husband Ted plan to fully adopt Petey, which would cut Hal out of his son's life forever. Meanwhile, Aunt Ida, who is now living alone, is awakened one night by strange noises coming from the basement. She arms herself with a gun and cautiously makes her way downstairs. However, she finds nothing unusual. As she turns to leave, the old wooden stairs suddenly collapse beneath her. She falls and several needles from a basket pierce her face. She removes the needles and treats her wounds, but just then, the gas stove in her kitchen mysteriously turns on. When she goes to check, a sudden spark ignites a fire, engulfing her face in flames, and Aunt Ida dies in a horrific freak accident. After Aunt Ida's tragic death, her property is put up for sale, and a teenager named Ricky comes across the old toy monkey, which he later buys. Meanwhile, Hal checks into a motel with Petey, hoping to reconnect, and he tries to explain why he has been distant for so long. That night, Hal experiences a terrifying nightmare. He is trapped with the toy monkey who is now attacking him. Moments later, his phone begins to ring, which turns out to be Bill, and he tells Hal to drive to Ida's house. Bill claims he has reason to believe the monkey has returned and that someone has been winding its key. Hal realizes it is true when an electric heater mysteriously falls into a swimming pool, electrifying the water. A woman jumps in, and as soon as she touches the water, her body violently explodes. The next day, Hal and Petey arrive at Aunt Ida's house, where they meet real estate agent Barbara. She informs Hal that ever since Ida's death, the town has been plagued by a series of bizarre and fatal accidents over the past week. While exploring the house, they come across a locked closet. When Barbara unlocks it, a shotgun suddenly falls and fires upon impact, instantly blowing her apart. The police arrive at the gruesome scene and take statements from Hal and Petey, which they both insist it was an accident. As Hal begins searching for the toy monkey, his phone begins to ring, which turns out to be Bill, and he learned that Bill is living in town and is now in possession of the monkey. When Bill discovered that Hal was linked to their mother's death, he returned to the well where they had dumped the toy monkey 25 years ago. However, when he got there, the monkey was gone. All that remained was its key. For years, Bill had secretly believed that Lois' death wasn't just a tragic accident, but rather a failed attempt by Hal to kill him using the monkey. Fueled by resentment, he spent decades waiting for the cursed toy to resurface so he could use it for revenge. When the monkey finally returned, Bill hired Ricky to retrieve it for him. However, over the past week, instead of killing Hal, the monkey had been taking the lives of random people in the town. Realizing something, Bill comes up with a twisted theory: whoever winds the key is immune from being the monkey's next victim. With this in mind, he calls Hal and tells him, if he wants the killing to stop, he must make Petey wind the monkey's key to keep him safe. If not, Bill will keep mercilessly winding it until Hal is killed, no matter who else dies in the town as a result. Hal refuses Bill's demand and insists they meet in person to settle their dispute. However, Bill simply ends the call. Meanwhile, Ricky, who has become obsessed with the monkey, grows frustrated when Bill refuses to give it to him. Furious, he storms out and hatches a reckless plan. Ricky disguises himself as a police officer and heads to the motel where Hal and Petey are staying. He holds them at gunpoint, forces them into Hal's car, and they drive straight to Bill's house. Once there, he forces Petey to go inside and retrieve the toy monkey for him, and before Petey leaves, Hal warns him that he shouldn't turn the toy key. Inside the house, Petey realizes the place is rigged with deadly traps. When Petey finally meets Bill, he hands the toy monkey to Petey and instructs him to wind the key, and curious to see what will happen, Petey does so. Outside the house, Hal and Ricky spot a massive wasp nest hanging nearby. As the monkey begins to play its drum, Ricky grows tense, and accidentally fires his gun at the nest. Just as the monkey strikes its final beat, a furious swarm of wasps erupts from the hive and descends upon Ricky. Hal enters the house, and seeing his brother is still unscathed, Bill got angry and loses control. He grabs the monkey and violently shakes it, forcing it to drum without winding the key. In retaliation, the monkey begins drumming uncontrollably and triggers widespread death and destruction throughout the entire town. Bill finally gives up, and the twins reconcile over their shared grief for their mother and apologize to each other. Shortly after, the monkey beats its drums one last time, and Bill is suddenly decapitated by a bowling ball bearing Lois' name. Driving through the now devastated town, Hal and Petey accept their fates as the monkey's owners to prevent the key from ever being turned again. A pale black-eyed man riding a horse, implied to represent the pale horseman, passes by and acknowledges them. Determined to reconnect with his son, Hal suggests they go dancing as it is something Lois had loved, and Petey accepts. Okay guys, that's all the recap about the monkey from 2025. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.